어이구야. 4월 29일 밖에 비가 오고 있습니다. 운동을 해야 되는데 플랭크 하겠습니다. 플랭크. 피곤해요. 빨리 운동하고 쉬겠습니다.
Been bitten by the bug of curiosity. This is CNN 10. My name is Carl Zeus. I'll be your explainer-in-chief. Global news. International relations are the key factors. Relevant stories. Everyday people whose action is changing their community. Complex issues explained. We're going back to the future. And 10-second trivia. You get a perfect 10 out of 10. All in 10 minutes. Stream at youtube.com/CNN10. I'm Sam Kiley in Abu Dhabi, and this is CNN.
Coronavirus. To get daily news updates in your inbox, sign up for the CNN newsletter. Coronavirus. Fact versus fiction.
Live from CNN Atlanta, this is Connect the World.
Hello and welcome to Connect the World. I'm Linda Kincaid, filling in for my colleague Becky Anderson. Good to have you with us. Well, the scenes from India's capital today are shocking and difficult to watch. Crematoriums in New Delhi and some of the country's other big cities are operating around the clock as cases pile up and the death toll rises. India is reporting a global record of nearly 380,000 new cases Thursday. Now more than 18 million infections in total and more than 3,600 deaths. And amidst the suffering, people are still voting, as you can see, lining up at polling stations in the West Bengal state. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has been criticised for allowing large campaign rallies and religious festivals, is telling voters to follow COVID-19 protocols, but to get out and vote. International help is now on the way, some of it already there. These are oxygen canisters being sent from the United States. Countries across the globe have answered the call to provide life-saving equipment. India's government is also trying to speed up its slow vaccine rollout, expanding eligibility to anyone 18 and older starting Saturday. The Health Ministry says 12 million doses are in the supply chain, both in storage and on the way to their destinations. But less than 10% of the population has been vaccinated so far, and vaccines remain scarce, with state ministers appealing for more doses as soon as possible. Well, our correspondent Sam Kiley was at a New Delhi crematorium earlier, and some of the images in his report are disturbing and difficult to watch.
This is the Simapuri crematorium where the dead have to join a queue. Their relatives and friends have to take tickets from an office in order to get access to the crematorium that is dealing with about 150 people a day, almost all of them victims of the COVID pandemic, a pandemic that the government seemed to indicate earlier this year had somehow passed India by, that India had somehow reached a level of herd immunity that even countries that have vaccinated on a vast scale have not reached. Now, India's a net exporter of vaccines. People here squarely blame the government for this catastrophe that has unfolded. And this, after all, is a nation that can put aircraft carriers at sea, that has a space program, that is the center for many international corporations of IT and development, but is also a country where there are catastrophic differences between the very rich and the very poor. And here, it's been extraordinary because a lot of the victims of this pandemic have been middle class. They're the ones, perhaps, who can afford to have their families burnt in a facility like this. And it may indicate one of the reasons as to why a lot of the estimates for the number of dead and the number of people in India who've been infected may be woefully inadequate. Sam Kiley, CNN, New Delhi.
Well, Sam was also there at the crematorium well into the night. Here's what he told me last hour.
Well, Linda, just in this area alone, it's about the size of 3/4 of a football pitch. There are close to 50 pyres burning. This crematorium believed it would probably process about 150 bodies today. There's estimated about 600 people dying every day here in New Delhi, but the truth of the matter is the numbers must be much higher. In this crematorium, the dead actually have to join a queue before they can be seen, before they can be given their last rites. People accompanying them have to take a ticket, like you would going to see the doctor or getting a bank appointment, wait their turn, and then they will be brought out to one of these locations. Ghee, which is a butter-like oil substance, poured on them, the wood piled on top, and they're given their last rites, very often unattended by anybody else other than perhaps one family member or a friend. There was one gentleman I spoke to earlier on today who lit that fire there, and he was in attendance only because no other member of the deceased family could be there, because they had all caught COVID, Linda. This is a catastrophic result of a failure in public health. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister here, believed a few months ago that India had broken the back of the pandemic, that they'd somehow achieved herd immunity, and India was becoming a net exporting nation for anti-COVID vaccines. Indeed, the national program doesn't get underway in serious earnest until May the 1st, when the number people from 18 and above will be allowed to get the vaccinations. There's been a rush of applications, but there's nothing like the level of supply that it can be met. And at the same time, he has encouraged political campaigning in local elections for his BJP party, mass meetings, people not being socially distanced at these meetings, and then the Hindu festival of Kumbh Mela, where more than 2 million people are believed to have attended, all cheek by jowl, all plunging in and out of the river Ganges, celebrating this very important Hindu festival for them, but all of them participating in a super spreader event. And I'm afraid this is the result, Linda.
Sam Kali there reporting in New Delhi. And as India struggles through what has become the world's worst COVID-19 outbreak, you can help. You can go to cnn.com/impact. You'll find a list of organizations offering assistance and what you can do to get involved. Well, Alexei Navalny has a message for Vladimir Putin. He's calling the Russian president a, quote, naked king who wants to rule indefinitely. The jailed Kremlin critic is describing himself as a skeleton. A short time ago, he appeared in public for the first time since ending his hunger strike via video link during a Moscow court hearing. Navalny lost his appeal to overturn a defamation conviction, but he used his time at the hearing to denounce Russia's justice system. We get right to Moscow. CNN's Frederick Plyton joining us now live. Fred, we know Navalny just ended a 3-week hunger strike in a Russian prison. Clearly, it looked as though this is all taking a toll on him.
Yeah, I would say a very big toll that it's taken on him. It was really, I wouldn't say shocking, but certainly quite troubling to see the state that Alexei Navalny, at least his body, was in. You could see him sitting there in that very tiny room via a video link, his head shaved, as is customary in those penal colonies, wearing the uniform of the penal colony. We later learned that he was actually on the tuberculosis ward of the penal colony because, of course, he had been having health issues to begin with, was then also on that hunger strike that made his health even worse. And, of course, we heard from his doctors who saw some of the data that they believed that he was close to dying at a certain point, or at least the threat was there. So certainly this is someone who's still very much recovering from that. And some of the things that he said certainly sounded that way. He said he still weighs about 72 kilograms. This is a man who's about 1.90 meters, maybe 1.92 meters tall, and who, when he came back to Russia, they say, weighed about 94 kilograms. He currently says that he's eating about 4 tablespoons of porridge a day, so still not very much. Still someone whose health seems a little bit frail, but who certainly was nonetheless combative. He ripped into the Russian justice system, he ripped into the court, and he also ripped into Russian President Vladimir Putin. I want to read you some of what he said in that final speech before the verdict was brought down. He said, quote, "You are all traitors," meaning the court. "You and the naked king," meaning Vladimir Putin, "are implementing a plan to seize Russia and the Russians to be turned into slaves. Their wealth will be taken away from them. They will be deprived of any prospects. You have